All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the very first step of any scientific research. It can seem really complex, but you know what? It always starts with one simple thing: a good question. We're going to break down how that works by looking at a real university assignment about the fascinating and, let's be honest, sometimes frustrating world of family communication.
I mean, think about it. We have all been there, right? One family dinner is just full of laughter and everyone's connecting, and the next one is tense. It's awkward. What is the difference? Well, that kind of everyday puzzle, that feeling of, wait, why did that just happen? That is exactly where real science begins.
And all these little personal mysteries we have about our own families, they're way more than just stories we tell our friends. They are actually the raw material for genuine scientific inquiry. And that right there is the central challenge, isn't it? It's one thing to say, ugh, my family is so weird about money, but it's a completely different thing to frame that feeling in a way that you could actually study and measure and understand. This is the big leap from just an anecdote to real analysis. So how do we make that leap? Let's take a look at how a social scientist is actually trained to make this crucial shift in their thinking. Okay, this slide just nails the transformation. On the left, you've got this common frustration. It's kind of vague, it's emotional, but look at the right. That is a scientific question. Notice those key words: specific, verbal and nonverbal, predict. It's not about feelings anymore, it's about things you can actually see and measure, behaviors and outcomes. And that's the whole point. Before you can even think about finding answers, before you run a single study or collect any data, you have to master the art of asking a precise, focused, and answerable question. It is the absolute essential first step. So let's dive into this actual assignment and see exactly how students are trained to craft these really powerful questions. The whole process is broken down into these really clear, simple steps. First, just brainstorm, get some ideas out. Then, and this is crucial, you narrow your focus specifically to communication, not just general feelings, but the actual acts of communicating. And finally, you pick one specific relationship to look at, like a parent and child or siblings. This structure turns this huge, wide-open field into a manageable place to start. Now, here's a really powerful example from the course. This question is just brilliant because of how specific it is. It's not just about divorce in general. It's about the very specific communication act of disclosing the divorce and its measurable effect on a child's satisfaction with how they communicate with that parent. See how focused that is? And check this one out. It connects a very specific parental behavior, yelling at a soccer game, to a potential long-term outcome in the child's own communication style later in life. This is exactly how research can trace the ripples of family communication across a whole lifetime. Now, this kind of serious intellectual work doesn't just happen randomly. To actually build knowledge together as a group, you need some structure. You need some rules of engagement. And here they are. You've got deadlines, bird counts, requirements to respond to your peers. Now, this isn't just busy work. This structure is what makes sure the conversation actually moves forward, that ideas get developed thoughtfully, and that everyone is part of this collective process of building understanding. And that no late work policy? It really underscores how important it is to keep the entire class moving forward together. But you might be wondering, with all this talk about personal family stories, why is there so much emphasis on being formal, on good grammar? I mean, it's just a class discussion board, right? What's the big deal? Well, the instructor gives the perfect answer. This is not just an academic exercise, it's practice for the real world. Learning how to express complex ideas clearly and professionally in writing, whether that's in an email, a report, or even a text message, is an absolutely critical skill, because a lot of the time, that is your first and only impression. But beyond all the deadlines and the grammar, there is one rule that stands above every other one. It is the absolute bedrock of all academic and scientific work. Your ideas have to be your own. Plagiarism, passing off someone else's thoughts as your own, is basically the ultimate academic crime. It totally undermines the entire purpose of learning. And the consequence here isn't just a warning or a bad grade on one paper, it's an automatic F for the entire course. That's how high the stakes are. So, after all of this, the brainstorming, the specific phrasing, the deadlines, the super strict rules, why does it matter so much? Why is one student's question in one class so important? Well, think of it this way. Each one of these carefully constructed research questions is like a single, fundamental building block. By itself, yeah, it might not look like much, but it's a solid, well-formed unit of potential knowledge, just ready to be placed. I mean, our entire understanding of something like family dynamics, it didn't come from one giant eureka moment. It's built brick by brick from thousands of small, focused studies. And every single one of them started exactly where these students are, with one good question. Over time, all these bricks form a wall, a foundation of knowledge that can actually help real families navigate some of life's most complex challenges. So, I'll leave you with a final thought. Now that you've seen how a real research question is formed, what's the one question about communication, about the specific words, the behaviors, the patterns that you would ask to better understand your own family? What's the mystery that you'd want to solve?